Now we're going to do problem 7 in module 3. This problem is another hypothesis testing problem, a little bit more complicated because this is a two-sample hypothesis test where we compare two means to one another and make a decision whether there's a difference or not between these means. So there's a discussion among the William and Mary team of mixed martial arts, and there is a supposition here that the men are significantly different from the women in terms of their weight. And in fact, we do look at the data and we find that men are lighter on average than the women on the team. So here's our basic data that we had before. We have to reorganize that data in a way to allow us to do the calculations. We sort according to gender, male. We get 146 for the males, and we get 159 for the women. And it appears there's a good size difference. We don't know if the difference is significant. It's 159 versus 146, that's 13 pounds. So it could be significant. So how do we do this kind of test, two-sample test? Well, let's write the null hypothesis first. The null hypothesis in these tests is invariably that there is no difference between the mean and the mean of the women and the mean of the men. It's just sampling error. The alternative would be that that the women are greater than the men for a one-sided test because the evidence shows that. Wouldn't make any sense to have it the other way, that the women are less than the men if your samples were evidence to the contrary, or that that there is no difference between you're indifferent to the difference. The mean of the men are not equal to one another. You just don't know whether it's larger or smaller. One-tail test, two-tail test. So let's take the data and let's put it into our mini tab. We find our t-test in mini tab, and we put in the information. And the first test we're going to do is a two-sample t-test. Here's the data that's analyzed by the problem, and in this particular case, our test is a one-tail test because the difference is 0 versus the difference is less than 0. So this takes into consideration the outcome of the sample that suggested that the men are in fact less. So this difference between the men and the women is going to be less than 0. This is a one-sample test. We calculate a p-value immediately, and we can see compared to 0.05, which is our alpha, this is smaller than our alpha. So a smaller p-value than an alpha suggests that we can reject the null hypothesis in favor of the alternative. If we change the test in the options to be a two-tail test where the difference, here's the difference. The estimated difference is going to be simply the difference between the two values here. And the alternative is that there is no difference, or the difference is neither smaller or larger. We get a value of 0.085. In this case, we look at our alpha, 0.05, and this is larger than our alpha, so we cannot reject the null hypothesis on this basis. We can also do a two-sample test of unequal variance with Excel, and that's simply found in our data analysis package. Here is our t-test, two-sample t-test unequal variance. I open that up. I select the range for the first variable. The second variable, the hypothesized difference will be 0 here. I want to put labels in possibly if I want, and I can do the analysis very quickly. All right. Two-sample tests are easier simply because both Minitab and Excel has it in the data analysis package. We can see the similarities in the results. Our one sample or two sample test in Excel gives us both the one-tailed test and the two-tailed test simultaneously. That's the end of problem 7, module 3.